All right, good afternoon. Mr. Brennan,
Present.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
You're on mute, Ed.
Mr. McDowell,
I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Present.
Mr. Vine. Here. Mr. Davis,
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Reverend McDowell, would you give us a word, bro?
Yes. Let us pray. Oh God, for the beauty of this day and the blessings of this harvest and Thanksgiving season. We come today to celebrate Thanksgiving and the bountiful blessings you've shared upon each of us. But in the midst of the blessings that you've blessed us with, we pray for those persons who find themselves in critical situations. We find that those persons who are in need of food, those persons who are in need of homes. While we celebrate Thanksgiving, we celebrate the season of harvest. And we ask that you would pour forth your blessings upon those who are grateful, for we ask that our gratitude be shared with those who find themselves in credulous situations. Allow us to sense and feel your spirit as it moves in us and through us. Bless families everywhere, allowing them to sense your guidance. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend McDowell. The adoption of the agenda. Do we have an amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I've got an amendment. I did not get Erica's email, but I'd like to amend item 41 to add under executive session for receipt of legal advice, zoning matters.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Mayor, it would be an additional item added, item 43 in executive session, the discussion of negotiations incident to propose contractual arrangements pursuant to South Carolina Code 3470A2 to include the 5 Points Fountain and the Columbia City of Women art sculpture.
All right, so a second.
Second.
Did you make the motion? Did you make the motion too?
I'm making the motion. I can't say.
Okay.
I thought Teresa was making the motion.
I'll move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh,
All right. We got the minutes from the October 6th and September 15th meetings of council. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and second, Mr. Rickerman and Mr. McDowell. Any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you again, Madam Clerk, you and lady for doing such great work on these. All right.
You're welcome.
Obviously, we've been watching all across the country troubling news as relates to the pandemic. We're watching many states hitting record levels, many across the Midwest, and particularly in rural areas being overwhelmed by the number of cases. I stay in touch with two of our local hospital CEOs, and they are seeing also some troubling trends here, not at the rate that we've seen in the Midwest, but we've watched all across the country over the last 3 quarters, these waves, and certainly the data is going in the wrong direction. We know that based on what we're seeing, that the next 2 months in this country in particular could potentially be the most devastating period to date as we work our way through this pandemic. We continue to see encouraging information on preliminary trials of vaccines. So now with the vaccines, hopefully not too far away, now is indeed the time to redouble our efforts and to push back against COVID fatigue and make sure that we support all the efforts that help prevent infections. Masking works. Thank you to council and to our citizens and our incredible staff for helping enforce the ordinance. Continue to work and encourage our public health professionals, our educators who are doing the very best they can under very difficult challenges. Class size and remote learning still works, and we have to remember that even with the advent of a vaccine on the horizon, that mask wearing, social distancing, and hand washing are still the most important protections that we have. We have to continue to hammer that home. Certainly the most important protection we have until a vaccine arrives. So I know obviously that there's so many opinions about what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing. We've been resolute and forward thinking. We're going to have to keep pushing hard. Things are going to be difficult as the cold weather comes in. I mean, this is not New York or Detroit or Chicago, but cold weather still pushes everyone indoors. Obviously, we're in the time of year that most of us look forward to spending time with the people that we love, with Thanksgiving and Christmas on the horizon. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be it's going to require each and every one of us to dig very deep into that well of positivity and possibility to help us make it through this difficult time. So, Council, thank you for your leadership. I want to thank our citizens for all the great work that they're doing. I even had some really good conversation with about 115 fraternity members of the Interfraternity Council at USC this weekend about ways in which they could also begin leading and providing some leadership, not just to the Greek community, but to their colleagues on a co-ed basis. So we just got to be vigilant. Maintaining vigilance will save lives. And that has always been the one true north of this council, the city, our staff, and the amazing men and women who make up the municipal corporation that we represent. So let's stick with it. Teresa, defer to Director Tinsley. Do you want to say something first, Tamika? Okay. We got Harry on tap.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. For COVID update, our Emergency Management Director, Mr. Harry Tinsley.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Madam City Manager. Again, thank you for your time. So a snapshot as far as where we are as of today's reporting. Worldwide, there are over 55 million cases globally of COVID-19, and that's up about 14.6 million over the last 28 days, which has been our last meeting in October, with over 1.3 million deaths due to COVID globally. As of today, the reporting right now as it stands in the U.S., there's 11.1 million confirmed cases. That's up 2.9 million over the last 28-day reporting period, with over 246,000 deaths due to COVID. Here in our state, South Carolina confirmed case counts reported out today. We stand at 186,526. There have been over 2.3 million tests to date in our state. New cases as of yesterday's reporting, and today's numbers will be 1,088. That's 1,088 new cases. The positivity test rate for that test sample is 13.8%. Unfortunately, there were 11 new confirmed deaths reported out. Those reports from November 2nd through November 16th. and that brings our confirmed death count to 3,884. So here in Richland County, our case count stands at 17,655 with 79 new cases as of yesterday. Richland County is averaging around 78, give or take, 78 new cases daily. There are 269 confirmed deaths in Richland County to date. Those zip codes with the highest case counts over the last 14-day reporting period are 29201 with 106 cases, 29203 with 98 cases, 29223 with 111 cases, and 29229 is 105 cases. So as of the latest report from DHEC, as of November 12th, Richland County's 14-day recent disease activity incident rate remains at high, with 261.2 per 100,000 cases with a positivity test rate of 13.1. And lastly, the current state recovery rate is estimated at 91.1%. That's as of the 15th of this month. The state case fatality rate is estimated at 2.14%. Statewide, we are experiencing some additional testing. Testing averaging is now up slightly to around 7,000 per day. And statewide, the average percent positive over the last 14 days stands at 14.1%, which is still considered high. South Carolina continues to see an uptick in case counts, and we're averaging nearly 1,000 new cases each day. We were between 600 and 800 and then 800 to 900. So we're now continuing to see that uptick. So as far as the mayor said, state hospitalizations do remain high. However, there is sufficient physical bed space. The utilization rate, bed utilization rate stands at 76%. The ICU bed utilization rate at 74%. Currently, there are 800 patients hospitalized due to COVID-19. 224 of those are in ICU. 106 of those are on ventilators. And state public health officials are continuing to monitor, as we say, the case counts, percent positivity, and hospitalizations. DHEC has issued recommendations for the approaching holiday and encourages all South Carolinians to stay vigilant and properly wear face masks and stay physically distanced and to get tested routinely to help slow the spread of the virus. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Tinsley. Ms. Devine?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Chief Tinsley, for your diligence and representing us well and providing us the facts. I just had a couple questions. So I think from what you said, the incident rate, positivity rate in Richland County is at 13.1%. Is that right, Chief Tinsley?
That's yes, ma'am. That's out as of the November 12th reporting.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And I guess part of my concern is that, you know, before we were always kind of told that we need to get below 10%. It looks like we've never gotten below 10%. As I've looked at the state ratings, I think if I'm reading it right, Richland County as well, although we are lower than the state, thank goodness, at least definitely in November, we have not gotten lower than, I think the lowest I see is like 11.4, but we were actually only 2 of the last 17 have been 11%. They've all been, look like 13% and higher. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, is that considered steady? Is it a slow increase? What is your opinion as to what we're seeing?
I would say that it is steady.
Can you add to me, because will you address the reason the percentage numbers the way it is, because it all has to do with how many tests were performed, and that's something that's been inconsistent over that period of time as well. You've talked about several times.
Yeah, so each 14-day reporting cycle depends on how many tests were actually completed for Richland County. And you can see those state numbers that come out have been between 6,000 and 5,000 test samples per day. They're up now to around 7,000 as the average over the last, I think, 7-day reporting period from the DHEC data that we're looking at. But yeah, it does depend on the total number of tests as the number of positivity rate. But it has, I think it did get down, Ms. Devine, down to 11, I think it was 11.1, but it hasn't gotten down below 10. Now, when you look at that incidence rate, there are three criteria. It's the rate of spread, it's the number of tests that are done, whether you're by your 100,000 per population, and then the percent positive. And they take those criteria, in any two of those, let's just say that all three are high. Well, let's say they're all three high. If your percent positive is high and your incidence rate is medium and you're below 200 per 100,000, then you take medium, and high. That would bring you as a medium. And we did get to a medium or moderate incidence rate. I think that was last October, in October. But we have seen an uptick. Yes, that is correct. Both of those are accurate.
Ms. Devine, you remember back in the early days of the pandemic, the goal was always, it has been not just for us, but nationally, internationally, to get a positivity rate of less than 5% for a period of 14 days or more. That's what we would see as a plateau and legitimate deceleration. We've never gotten there. In most places in the country, quite frankly, haven't either. Some have, and now they've watched the uptick as well as the economy is opened back up. So, but right now, if you just look at the state cases over the last week or two, we're seeing some of the highest numbers we've seen since late summer. So we're going in the wrong direction.
That's what I was looking at. And I guess my next question for Mr. Mayor and for Chief Tinsley, in today's state, paper, they talk about the incident rate. They say that Columbia, we're seeing less than Greenville and York and counties, and so they're giving us some props there. But I guess the quote that they use from DHEC looks like is that the Midlands is seeing rigorous spread, and it actually makes a statement that stay-at-home orders or extensive contact tracing may be needed. So I guess my question is, I know that the last thing that any of us want is any kind of orders of staying at home. But I know we talked about contact tracing. So I'm just wondering, where are things locally regarding contact tracing? And when we think about rigorous spread, what does that mean for us as far as staying ahead of the curve? I think we've been a leader in the state at the beginning of this. And so I want us to continue to lead and be in front of things. So if we're seeing rigorous spread here, and our numbers are lower than the upstate, are there some additional measures that we need to look at, whether it's doing our own contact tracing or supporting contact tracing that's happening? Because we also can't necessarily, I know a lot of people are looking at the universities, but school is ending next week. And so kids who can go home will be going home. So as the mayor talked about the next 2 months, if we see continued spread, it's going to be these small social gatherings that are happening for people who live here that people have talked about. So how do we stay ahead of that curve?
Maybe Daniel will answer your question first, and then we'll go ahead make a statement.
I think one of the things we need to be realistic about is, contract. That's gonna be tough, but we've been very vigorous on the hospitality industry, but we have not been vigorous in social the grocery store and big box, who have been allowed to be open the entire time. And I'm bringing this up because 3 times in the last 2 weeks, I have been in a big box store that has had nobody monitoring entrance, nobody stopping people with no masks on, nobody providing sanitation or anything. And we're talking about big box stores that have thousands of people going in and out of them. So there are a lot of things that I think that we need to have a discussion about and make sure we've targeted all around, for the most part, one area of town. And the reality is these big box stores are affecting vast amount of areas, especially the areas when you look at it broken down that we get on a weekly basis. We've consistently had the same problems in certain areas. And then some of our, unfortunately, if you look at the numbers, some of the surrounding counties have had a real spike. And then as we all know, we have massive transit in and out of the city. So I do think we've got to emphasize the mask, but I also think that, we need to put some standards and some support around the other areas, not just hospitality, because that is just as equally easy to spread. And with no sanitation stations, no monitoring or anything like that, then they're becoming the seed. I don't know how we contract trace, but I do think that we need to continue to push the efforts out to everybody to do everything we can to keep open the best we can, because I'll be honest, we got a fine line balance here, because I don't think a lot of these businesses, if there is a shutdown, will be able to open back up, because wages are not the issue. Businesses need income to pay their bills. And so we've got a very, very thin line here on what to do. And I don't know how we emphasize it, but we have to figure out a way to make sure that people are being more conscious and getting back a little bit, not living in fear and hiding at home, but really being conscious about their surroundings and where they're going, and that they're washing their hands and they're social distancing. Because we got a lot of people doing the right thing, but we've got some areas that aren't, and those areas are affecting other areas of our community.
Ms. Devine, let me say something about then Mr. McDowell. Answer to your two questions. Yes, we're seeing obviously a much greater acceleration in other parts of the state, particularly in the upstate. But everything is relative. I think also saw I think maybe 40% of our counties are at the tipping point where now folks where good public health practices and policymaking would indicate that a stay-at-home order would be normally the proper response. Whether it's likely or not is a whole nother story. The Midlands folks at DHEC have done a great job recruiting and training contact tracers. Here, just like a number of other places, we had a significant proliferation of cases that made contact tracing maybe, I won't speak for DHEC, but made it really impractical and more difficult during a period of time. But I know that they've stepped up, and we'll get a very specific answer to that question. I think Teresa, Harry, and Kay have spent a great deal of time with Scott Thorpe and get you a very specific answer as it relates to contact tracing. And just to remind everyone, I agree, it's not just our restaurants and bars. It is big boxes. It's everyone. It's all of us as we walk up and down the street, y'all. We got to step up and do what we should do, expressing some collective responsibility. We have an economic crisis caused by a public health crisis. It has created an educational crisis. It has created a social crisis. So we get arms around the pandemic, everything else will begin to work itself out. But we'll get you a very specific answer, Ms. Devine, on the contact tracing resources and how they might be a bit more helpful. Mr. McDowell.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, one of the things that I think is very important in the life of this pandemic and what is taking place, and of course, want to say just another word of thanks to Chief Jenkins and that group that is monitoring Waring. I was through 5 points yesterday, Friday, and it was terrible. It was literally terrible. I certainly agree with Daniel as in his efforts to talk about the impactation of that on businesses. But we're going to have to do something somewhere between the hours. And I think Will and I have had some conversation about this. There needs to be something done, say, even talked about, something done between, say, the hours of 7 and 11. It was just totally horrific on Friday night, this past Friday. No social distancing. masks were being worn on persons' risk. I think there needs to be a genuine conversation about what do we do during 7, say from the hours of 7 and 11, to sort of help us to make sure that this virus slows down, because it's not slowing down at all.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
I agree with Ed and Daniel. One of the things that's puzzling me when you look at the numbers, I'll just take 29203 for example. We've been consistently sort of high comparatively to other areas, and you know, whether people are going, there are some folks going to the big boxes and they're infected and bring it back to the community, the neighborhood. But I'm seeing a number of places where folks are gathering in the yard, picnic style, still no masks and those kinds of things. So there's something I think I'm hoping we can do about the educational aspect of this again. I think that really needs to be hammered home, because there's some folks who appear to feel that just because they're home on, you know, with friends, it's okay. It's not, especially when you count the number of folks, I count them, that are wearing masks. It's just not there. This past weekend, got a call, I don't know why it came to me, about a particular establishment where it's a laundromat, for example, to be honest with you. The person that called was in a panic because she wanted to go to that inside, no sign on the door, nobody wearing a mask, even the attendant not wearing a mask. And so the only thing I could do was call Aubrey, and they responded. So those are some of the things that are under the radar. I think that we still have to kind of, you know, do what we can, get the word out, send some signals. And those guys can't drive around on patrol through every area of the city. But I think that's just an example of a particular segment of the population that's not doing their part. And I don't know how we can effectively police that, but that's something that's got to be added to the overall strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We're gonna move on. Obviously, education is always the key. The reality is that I think we've all seen enough data and news to understand just exactly how deadly and grave the threat is facing our families. Yeah. We just need folks to step up and take it seriously. Tomorrow's not promised, you know, and we know that all too well. But again, as I always do, I want to thank y'all for your collective leadership. But we can do better. We got to do better as a community. Let's keep on moving. We got some folks waiting for us to take some action today. Madam City Manager, again, thank you, Director Tinsley, for the steady hand, and Teresa, you and Chief Jenkins, as Red McDowell said. Let's get Ms. Devine a specific answer back on the contact tracing, share with all of us, and let's keep on moving through the agenda.
Yes, sir. Our next item, Mayor Benjamin, is a recognition led by you of the Columbia Complete Count Committee.
Yeah, and I always love to make the point that the two most powerful words in the English language are thank you. And I just want to take a moment to thank our amazing leaders, citizen leaders and volunteers who work closely with our staff, mostly from Krista Hampton's team, providing some significant technical support. But we know that if we really want to get something done, this is about citizen leadership. So I want to take a moment on behalf of our entire council and city to thank our incredible Complete Count Committee for their hard work in making sure that the census was effectively carried out here in Colombia and metro area, for that matter. This group wound up providing significant leadership, not just here, but on a statewide level, and engaging very often with those at the national level. We knew that the Sam Davis gives China a shout out as she appears on screen. We knew this year was already going to be a difficult task. It was obviously further exacerbated by the pandemic and even the lack of resources that we typically might rely on from the federal government. But the Complete Count Committee was undaunted. They moved forward and called thousands of Colombians to make sure they completed the census. They held safe programming for all generations, including a census joy tour where people could socially distance, have a good time, and fill out the census. Instagram live parties. It was my very first one of them I got to host. They had some celebrity appearances on some of them. It was a lot of fun, but panels and virtual town halls explained the importance of the census to the entire community. They held an expansive marketing campaign, including social media and billboards, yard signs, even wrapping a comet bus. So we all know, just as leaders in the public sector, exactly how important the census is to this community. In China, this was just a chance to thank you. We're so proud of your leadership and all the incredible men and women who work with you. Some who are very nascent in their careers. Some even still students. To those like Ms. Green and others who could do more in their sleep than many of us have done in a lifetime. We just want to say thank you to the entire Complete Count Committee for your hard work. Always got to give a tip to Ms. Devine for bringing you to us in the first place. We knew you were sharp then, and every single thing we watched you put your hands on, you've just done an amazing job. So we wanted to bring you on just to say thank you. China Phillips.
I think, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. As you know, Mayor Benjamin and all of the council men and women, it is because of the amazing team that we had. We had people who just kind of lended their support in the midst of everything. And when COVID happened, we took some time to kind of mourn the loss of our calendar, but afterwards we said we needed to spread joy, not COVID. And that's when all of those innovative ideas came about. And so I just thank the committee. I thank all of you for being amazing leaders, because our business sector stepped up and said, how can I have a yard sign? How can I have something to put in my to-go plates? As you know, Councilman Rickerman, your students stepped up and said, you know what, we're not waiting for the adults to do anything, we're gonna do something. And so I just wanted to say thank you for trusting us enough to let us lead in that way. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we have our claws in you now, China. You're not going anywhere, you know that, right? We're gonna keep on tapping you and Landry and Little Landry for everything we possibly can. You've been a blessing to this community. So keep up the great work you're doing. All right.
Good job.
All right. Thank you.
Great job, China. I want to say thank you to China too, Mayor, for knowing how to work within the confines of government at times, and learning how to work with our department leaders. I know Krista was phenomenal, but it really did also, it shows how citizen support can really be a value add to the work that we do as government employees. So thank you for being patient with us, but also, always kind of abiding by the directions, and everyone doesn't do that. So that means a lot, and we appreciate you.
And a huge thank you to the Sisters of Charity. Obviously, China was working for us, but they were paying her payroll, paying her check, and loaning her in many respects on the clock. And that goes to Children's Trust and everyone else. Just folks who understood the importance of this effort and were willing to give the housing authority, lending their staff, and everything else. It's representative of what good corporate citizens and philanthropy is supposed to be like. So big shout out to the leadership at the as just a charity foundation for giving China the latitude to lead in this effort as well.
And Director Wilson, I wanted to respond to something that you said, and I know time, but the first is my internship with Councilwoman Devine was just so integral, and just watching all of you guys work together and knowing all the different layers that you have to go through out of deference and out of respect. But then also two women who really at the start of this, Krista Hampton, from the start to finish, was just by our side. And then also Director Yutzi, at the very beginning, we said, what do we need to do for social media, anything or strategy? And she met with us for like an hour and a half and just giving us all the things. And we didn't realize that how beneficial that conversation would be, because when COVID hit, everything turned digital. And so we lent on some good information that she gave to us the beginning of the process. So those two women, I just thank them so much.
Yes, thank you, China.
Thank you.
All right, let's rock and roll, Teresa.
Yes, sir. We will move Mayor Benjamin and Council into the consent agenda, items 4 through 21.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. McDowell, second by Ms. Devine. Any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Howard,
You
you're
muted,
on.
Howard.
Aye.
thank you. Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mayor Benjamin, I wanted to note within that consent agenda several important items. But item 21 is a real integral next step for us with our disaster recovery effort, the approval of the agreement with ICF Incorporated. ICF for nearly 25 years has been on the ground for some of the most significant natural disasters in U.S. history, providing services that speed and enhance community recovery. We're excited about you all approving this agreement as we continue to move forward for members of our communities, the recovery that they need. And the next item under resolutions goes hand in hand with this, with item 21. Item 22 is a resolution R2021-02, authorizing the city manager to execute a community development block grant disaster recovery subrecipient agreement between the City of Columbia and the St. Bernard Project, the SBP Incorporated, another significant company founded in New Orleans in 2006 following Hurricane Katrina. And they are a national award-winning resilience and recovery nonprofit organization whose mission is also to shrink the time between disaster and recovery. And that is what we are poised to do.
Wonderful reputation.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful reputation. Now I move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Item 23, resolution number R2020-090, authorizing the city manager to execute an assignment of contract of sale and purchase of real estate between the City of Columbia and Executive Management and Leasing, Inc. for the purchase of 1127 Washington Street in Richland County.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Number 24, resolution number R 2020-093, certifying various buildings as abandoned buildings pursuant to the South Carolina Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, Section 1267-100 of the South.
Move approval of 093.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman, Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Number 25, resolution number R 2020-099, certifying building site as an abandoned building pursuant to the South Carolina Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, Section 1267-100 of the
So
South
moved.
Carolina Code.
Is there a second? Was that a second? Was that a second first before we go into discussion?
There was a second.
All right, it might have been Ms. Devon, but she's on mute, I couldn't tell. For second discussion, Mr. Rickman.
Somebody to explain to me how this fits for abandoned building. When I looked it up online, I mean, it's a nice.
A law firm. There's a law firm? Isn't it a law firm?
I think it's a working space that's being developed.
And I guess I'm a little confused why it gets abandoned building status and why it would get Bailey bill status.
I think that's, yeah, I think it's a law firm. There's 3 buildings up here on the corner. I think that's what it is. It has been abandoned for a minute. I think the lawyer retired, and it's been vacant for a few years, I believe. I don't know if Krista has more information, but I don't know about historic status, but I can say I think it has been abandoned for a minute.
Well, I mean,
Does to be abandoned, isn't there a size requirement as well?
It's 60% vacancy, I believe, for a certain amount of term years. But all that should have been certified by the applicant.
It was Krista here, and we have an affidavit as well from the previous owner about its vacancy. And the current use, it was a law firm, Weston Adams law firm, and the new use is co-working space, FEM Capital.
But so abandoned buildings applies to buildings of all sizes, Chris? I thought there was a minimum square. I thought there was a minimum square footage requirement.
There's an investment requirement, not a square footage requirement.
so, and just so I understand the rules moving forward, so you could potentially have a building that's not 100% in use and claim abandoned building.
Correct. Yeah, there's a percentage. And all of these folks are not requesting property tax abatement. These are all going for the state income tax credit. For them to get the local property tax, you all would have to actually pass an ordinance approving of that. Really, so what we're authorizing is a state income tax credit. The Department of Revenue has somewhat delegated that responsibility to municipalities.
So what is the percentage for future use? Because I mean, this is something every citizen ought to know then, because there's a lot of empty retail space that's been empty for a long time. They should all be getting credit for that.
Yeah, I believe it's 66%. I'll have to get that number for you. I can send you the statute.
Interesting. That was not my understanding. My understanding was it was around a true abandoned building, which meant abandoned meant and nobody there and hadn't been there for a long time. So
That
that's
was
new.
I'm sorry. That's my understanding also. I didn't know you could.
The law was amended after its initial submittal.
When was that?
Krista, do you mind, like you said, sharing that with all of us, the updated statute?
Yeah, and it is 66% is in the definition.
But so we're not talking about bailability here. We're just talking about the state income tax credit and all T's have been crossed and I's have been dotted. Let's send an update on the current state law as amended.
It claims Baileyville is available, so we need to understand.
Oh,
that.
I saw that as well. I see Trinity has it listed. I pulled it up too, Daniel. So 1501 and 1511. I noticed that as well, and I was somewhat surprised by that too. But all right. But send an update if you can, Krista, so we'll all have an understanding. We can push it out.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Brennan and Mr. Davis.
one quick comment. This is the new Workspace FemX. It's a wonderful outfit. Very, very well done. If you'll ever get a chance, please stop by and see the wonderful activities and workspace that they've created in this historic building.
It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful building. A great corner. Mr. Davis.
I agree with Daniel in terms of public education on this. This could play a major role in future development in areas that may be targeted, or areas we may need to target, and that I think would offer as an incentive for some people that we'd want to encourage to make investments.
And it
So
should be noted.
I think anything we can do to help put the word out, it would help. When I read it last night, I thought it was interesting also.
Ms. Hampton?
It should be noted that the current law is sunsets in 2021 at the end of next year, that a building has to be put in service by that time.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't
well,
just apply to, it also applies to new construction on abandoned building property. So, this is something James Smith put into place, 8 years ago, Krista?
Yeah.
So, hopefully the legislature will continue this, because it has been pretty successful in parts of the state. But I agree with you, Sam. This is something that we can absolutely use in our toolkit for advancing our initiatives.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. All right. Let's keep it moving. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Wickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir. Item 26, resolution number R 2020-098, authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding between the City of Columbia and the Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority, allocating and delegating responsibilities for bus stops with the City of Columbia.
All right.
Are we in a rush to do this today, or can we hold this? Because there's a couple issues that have come up that I think we as a council need to have a discussion around and do some more research.
And can we, in addition to that, Daniel, perhaps inviting John to come in?
Yes, sirs, to both of you, we can. He was here recently, and I think he discussed this during his recent presentation, but perhaps if I know what exactly your concerns are.
Well, to be quite frank, I want our staff to take a look at our existing agreement around the transit center and the right-of-ways, because the buses now are stretched all the way down Sumter Street, all the way to Blanding Street, which is creating problems for other people in the neighborhood. And the authority believes that they have full carte blanche to do that. I don't believe that they do, and I don't want us to give any authority at this point until we make sure that we understand what we're getting into, because it's a gray area and it's causing a lot of havoc in the businesses downtown.
Well, we expect that to change dramatically per his last report, right? I mean, they're moving those operations over to Lucius Road, if I'm correct, right?
That's correct. And we, yes, sir, Mr. Rickman, are very aware of the buses and their stops along that corridor. I mean, actually, well, we can talk about it offline, but we've been engaged with John quite a bit about that. That movement you see is not ideal, but it's really as a result of what the alternative was before that. So I would have to, if it's still becoming a big problem, I hadn't heard it from the property owners along there since we made some adjustments, but if you are, then we will need to go back to the drawing board with him again about that specifically until they relocate off Lucius. But if you prefer for him to come and present again about that, I mean, we can ask him to, but I do think that's more of a staff level discussion.
I think we got to get the information and make sure from a legal standpoint. I mean, I don't think any of us have seen those agreements that surround that transit in a long time, because I think these things are dated way, way back historically. And I think that they're very specific like they need to be. And I think before we move forward, we need to make sure that we understand what we are doing and the limitations around it. Because
we've tried to wind down the agreements. If you're speaking of what I think you are, we tried to wind those down and get out of some of the federal regulations that we were involved with the comment. But anyway, I don't want to misspeak publicly, so some of the agreement information we may need to talk about with you all in executive session and kind of where we are. Teresa and Patrick, I'm not sure if y'all want to direct us accordingly here with that subject matter, but it'd probably be better to talk about that in executive session.
I mean, is time of the essence to something we can hold until we have some?
John's been waiting on this particular MOU. Henry and Kelvin have worked with him on this. This is really more about the cleanliness of the bus stops and delineating responsibility clearly to the comment. So
this is clarifying. Yeah, clarifying.
I like this MOU that it's clear what their responsibilities are about cleanliness of the bus stops, but I do understand kind of the things that. Can
we move forward with this one, you all? If this is something we're waiting on, but obviously this does not address the logistics issues that we're talking about that we're going to have to come back to. And then if we're going to have another visit from John to council, if Ed just wants to meet with John, we can make that happen too. We can do that. But if this is something that staff sees as important in terms of maintenance and clarifying whose responsibility is whose.
I can let Henry speak to that here just so we're clear, because if you want to hold it, we can hold it. But I think that's all it's saying.
Daniel, then Ed.
Yeah, I just what I couldn't understand in the agreement, how it deals with the situation we're dealing with now. It's very specific around the bus stops and stuff, but now that these things, especially on Sumter Street, stretching all the way down and across Blanding, this doesn't address that. And so it's a bigger picture item for me personally to have a discussion about. But I mean,
Robert and Henry, can either, if you're on, Robert, if you or Clint want to speak to how we landed with where the buses are stopping now. That's kind of been a beast for us to deal with. It might be about the best we've gotten it in recent months. And then Henry, as far as this particular agreement, I think it is very specific to the maintenance of the bus stops.
That is correct. This is specifically dealing with delegation of the maintenance of the bus stop to standardize the work that's being done, whether it be signs, furnishing, benches, lighting. That will be delegated to the comment to be responsible for, to standardize what they're doing in Richland County as well as Lexington County. So that's all this agreement is referring to.
But I guess that's my point is it's very specific to that area. But when they are running, stacking buses down a street, and those people are trash that's accumulated around it, people urinating, doing those things around, it doesn't help us in that situation, because it stretches almost a whole block, and that whole block's not included in the per se bus stop, at least the way I understood it. And that's where I'm a little concerned, because there's a gap, and that gap is what we get the phone calls about.
Well, this is Patrick, Councilman Rickman. I think what it is it's kind of two separate issues. I think this MOU is specifically for dealing with the bus stops and maintenance. It's not actually for the transit centers. So that's a different situation. So that one is the one that we were having some conversations about previously, about the transit centers, that we actually had some conversations with the Central Midlands Council of Governments and CRMTA. So that's, I think what it is this is very specific to dealing with bus stops and maintenance, and that was a completely different agreement.
So what I'm hearing you say, Patrick, is that we're going to have a separate agreement to mirror this to deal with the problem we're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we kind of have dealt with that because we dealt with the federal government on some issues, so to kind of take some restrictions off of us. So that is kind of that process has started. It started actually, I think the end of last year. So yeah, that's a different situation than what we have here today as far as the bus stops.
Well, can we put that on our radar to discuss? And then it sounds like we need to go down a separate path to deal with that.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, sir. I think that's really considered as of right now until it moves to Lucius, the transfer center, which they do not really consider a bus stop, which the bus stops are addressed in this agreement that you have in front of you. I'm sorry, Reverend McDowell.
No, I was certainly not insinuating that we meet with John, but there are some issues, and I think you're right, Ms. There are some issues that I think we can fully and talk about during the executive session. Some of those issues, of course, is totally different than the agreement and any other things. But I just think that there needs to be just something clarifying for me and for others as it relates to some of those conversations.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to add it today?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But just for the sake of no, ma'am.
Okay.
But I do want to follow up though to make sure that we do include it on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to move forward with this, have an immediate update, even if it's just a written report for everyone's edification on the logistics piece of this and how we're going to address the issue Daniel raised, and maybe an update on exactly what's happening with Lucius Road. I think aren't you going to join the comment board at some point, Mr. Brennan? I think that was the plan. And Ed wants a weekly meeting with John and the comment leadership. So let's make that happen so he can keep us in the loop on all things comment. So let's add that to whatever all the other issues to maybe a next agenda, particularly if there are some items that qualify for executive session discussion. Otherwise, we'll have them in public. So you, Teresa, y'all can work that out.
Yes, sir.
So you'll address Mr. Rickman's questions and copy all of us on that. And as it relates to the motion before us, move the previous question.
I'm gonna remind everyone to mute if you're not talking.
Please mute or subject yourself to eternal embarrassment. It happens every day on Zoom somewhere. Okay, so move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
I apologize, Mayor. We did not catch a motion on this end.
Though we moved. If not, I move approval.
Second.
Moving second. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Don't you guys love how diplomatic Erica is? I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, we did not catch a motion on this end because there was no motion. But okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. And please, everyone, please mute your phones if you possibly can. Thank you, Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Item 27, resolution number R 2021-03, authorizing the city manager to execute a parking facility development agreement between the City of Columbia and the Bull Street Development, LLC. Mayor Benjamin, at any time that you all want to have us give any additional insight on this item, we're happy to do so.
Is there a motion?
Motion for approval.
Second.
Second.
All right, discussion. We'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
I got some concern based on all the phone calls that I've been getting today on this. So I'm going to vote no at this point.
okay. Mr. McDowell,
You're mute, Ed.
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Mr.
Madam
Mayor,
City Manager.
Yeah.
Ms. Vine, please.
I'm sorry, we did so fast, I couldn't get off mute before the discussion period. I did want to point out, and I think I've gotten calls today too and emails, and I've talked to some folks. I think we certainly I don't want people to miss the point that, you know, the way interest rates are right now, we are not gaining much interest at all on this money. And I think that our financial folks, especially as conservative as Mr. Palin is, you know, have looked at this and feel comfortable with this being a route we could go. And I think that we are actually using our money to be able to benefit, not only replenishing and having interest made on this money for our employees, but also saving money. So I think people are missing that point because they read a headline and don't necessarily read the whole thing. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful, Ms. Devine. And Teresa, it's important enough. Why don't we get Jeff on just to give a very brief explanation as you offered for everyone who might be watching.
Certainly, Mayor, and I'll read into the record that ordinance, the agreement, item 27 and item 28 is actually the financing piece, which is the ordinance. And we can take that up after Jeff gives this explanation. They really work together.
Go ahead, Mr. Palin.
Sure. Good afternoon. As council is aware, we've been spending probably the last 8-9 months working on how to finance the parking out here for Bull Street for the first 2 decks. We've gone through and looked at many different options, and one of the options we looked at, because it is in an opportunity zone, we did take a look at, have been working hard towards issuing a bond. It was more of an opportunity zone type bond. It was in a partnership with the developer. The way it would work is the developer basically would have built the garage. They would have paid for it, and then our parking system would have bought it from 10 years from now. The way interest rates and the way the program was working, it began to reach a point of almost cost prohibitive. So we started looking at other options. One of our other challenges here at the city is, while interest rates weren't very attractive for that item, our interest earnings have dropped greatly over the last 1.5 years, especially during COVID. So one of the things that we always look at is how much interest does our OPEB fund generate each year? We are actually down to year to date right now. We are only earning 33 basis points on that fund. So we're kind of able to take a look at utilizing those OPEB funds to give it a better return.
What we're looking at is using the OPEB funds instead of the developer to build the garage. There's a lot of advantages to that. To the city, it's going to save us approximately $4.6 million. It also gives us complete control without having to set up some sort of a lease with the developer, so we can control the parking garage completely for ourselves. In addition to that, to OPEB, the funds that are used for that, we're guaranteeing a rate of 1.5%. To put that in numbers, 9 to 10 years from now, and it's all estimates. We don't know exactly when everything will be built, but we know we plan to take it out in 2010 by still issuing parking bonds. That will generate earnings of not just returning the $16.5 million, but it will also generate earnings of $2,648,000 that will all go into OPEB. Under our current 10-year past average, if we do not put any, if we did nothing with those funds, the difference would be almost a little over $1.5 million less in the fund 10 years from now. So we see that really as a win-win. There is always, by staff and others, concern, though, how do we make sure we repay the money to that? One of the concerns often is if we're relying on the developer or if we're relying on outside environment to come back with that return. That's always a concern to us. In this case, this is really the city paying itself back. We are putting it together in the ordinance that y'all have before you that Ms. Wilson will read to you. And in that, we have a defined amount, a defined return, a defined time of repayment, and there's no outside variables or loose ends associated with it.
Those inures to the benefit of the OPEB fund by, was that $1.5 million?
That would be the estimate, approximately 1.5 million.
Okay, yeah. So that was important to have that explanation. It might be helpful as well, just to put that in some form of just an explanation, not the other document, for council members and others to share with those who may have some questions. So it's eliminated. Okay, 33 basis points is not going to make anything over the short term or long term. So a defined return is a significant achievement. So thank you for your leadership on this. Further discussion, Ms. Wilson.
I was just going to let you know, Mayor, you have that information in your inboxes from Jeff as well if you need it for sharing.
Is that public? Okay, publicly shareable documents. Okay, fantastic. If there's no more discussion, Mr. Rickenman.
I think one of the things that came up from a lot of people was the fear of how that money was going to flow back if something happened, and a lot of it has to stem, not that I don't appreciate staff's creativity. I think when they first talked about it was very interesting, but as you hear a lot of the people and some of their concerns are around the development and the fact that we're not generating enough tax revenue out of there and other things to pull that all together. There's a fear of, well, we're gonna be paying that difference back if something doesn't happen, and is there a better way to do it through a capital lease program or something where it's done privately? And to be honest, I didn't have a good response on that for that, but I just like it's important for us to understand. And I think today's article in the newspaper is what started the conversation with a lot of people, but just wanted to make those points that moving forward, it'd be very important for council really to make sure that it's a real transparent, and that any changes to the agreements or anything are keep people in the loop, because I do think there's a fear, and the fear is, I think it has a lot to do with the environment we're in, and that we're already expecting lower revenue streams and how we're going to juggle all that. So I think they're real fears, but I think the more we can educate and the more you can provide information to people, the better off we are.
Well, no, I understand. I think obviously we live in a time right now where a lot of folks are concerned about a lot of different things, and it's warranted. This is a very smart and conservative approach that inures to the significant long-term benefit of our folks who existing employees and existing retirees. So thank y'all for continuing. I mean, we've done so much due diligence on this, looking at this literally 20 different ways. And this is a very smart, conservative and thoughtful approach that endures to the benefit well over 7 figures to our retirees. And thank you, Teresa, Jeff, and your entire team for leading on this. We're going to move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
I think we voted on that one.
We voted on 27. We need a motion.
Move on 28. Motion on 28.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
For the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman?
No.
Mr. McDowell?
You're on mute, Mr. McDowell.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye, thank you.
And Jeff, with this approval, you're prepared to post, I think you told me, not only the ordinance in a prominent location on the website, but the bulleted information that you shared for
Yes.
the public.
Yes, we'll post the ordinance along with the financial plan, along with the a comparison just on our estimates for the interest earnings.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. Another item that Jeff and I can share any additional information you may need. Ordinance number 2020-095, providing for an installment plan of finance for certain downtown city projects, approving Columbia Facilities Corporation and its activities, including the issuance by the corporation of not exceeding $57,250,000 principal amount of its installation purchase revenue bonds and one or more.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the previous question, clerk, call the roll. Erica?
Sorry, it's me. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr.
Yes.
Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Finally, it's Erica and not my fault. I love it.
I know.
Aye. Aye. Thank you, buddy. All right, Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Item 30, ordinance number 2020-102, granting an encroachment to Clear Dot Charter School, Columbia, for the use of the right-of-way area of the 2000 block of Marion Street adjacent to 2015 Marion Street.
Motion for
And the
approval.
Is that a second?
Second.
Discussion? Move the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 31, ordinance number 2020-103, granting an encroachment to Choice Hotels for the use of the right-of-way areas of the 1000 block of Lady Street and 1200 block of Park Street, adjacent to its building at 1000 Lady Street, 1010 Lady Street, 1014 Lady Street, and 1218 Park Street in Richland County.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We'll move the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye, thank you. City Manager.
Yes, sir. Item 32, Ordinance number 2020-105, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract of sale between the City of Columbia and TEO LLC for the sale of approximately 9.9 acres being known as Parcel C, located on the north and southern border of Farrell Road in Richland County. Excited about
Is there a motion? Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's discussion. You excited about this one?
Yes, sir.
We all are. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Enthusiastically, aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Public hearing.
Yes, sir, Mayor Benjamin. First reading for a few zoning and planning matters as well, starting with item 33, and I will hand it over to Ms. Hampton to assist.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The first item on your agenda tonight is an annexation, comprehensive plan map amendment, and zoning map amendment. Pardon me, at 1314 Rosewood Drive. Move my
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of or against this item?
We have callers and public input. We would ask that when your item is called, you would press 3 to join the speaker queue. At this time, Mayor, no one is in the speaker queue for this item.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Council, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Can't see hands. We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
forgive all the jumping around here. My computer was slower than my finger was. So we are now at an annexation, comprehensive map amendment, and zoning map amendment for 1.45 acre portion of 940 Greystone Road. It is request to zone to C3 and an employment campus. It is currently zoned mixed residential and RSLD at Richland County.
Is anyone on the call interested in speaking on this matter? I think the clerk has indicated you press 3 if this is the item of interest to you. We have anyone, Madam Clerk?
No one at this time.
All right. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. And I want to make sure, council, if there's an item that you want to speak on, I want to encourage you to interject if we get in the discussion period. As we screen share, I can only see 5 of you at a time. I can't see everyone. So I don't want something to slip by if you want a word before we vote. All right. Next up, Ms. Hampton.
Certainly, number 35 is an annexation comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment for 1215 Shop Road. This would request a interim land use classification of industrial and an interim zoning of light industrial. That's M1.
Is anyone here, is anyone online to speak on this item? The clerk has indicated if you are online and you want to speak, you should press number 3, I believe, and you'll be brought into the queue. Madam Clerk?
No one is in the queue at this time.
Thank you. Is there a motion here?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one? All right, we'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Yeah.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval, Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, Mr.
just a quick comment. It's always good to see properties getting annexed into District 3, so I appreciate staff's efforts. Thanks so much.
Hey, well, you'll talk, speak to your colleagues. Some days you'll regret it too, my friend. Some days you'll regret it. So, all right.
Okay, this is number 36 is some housekeeping. As you know, we recently adopted the Columbia Compass, and it included a future land use map. And I have Lee DeForth in the background to help me if necessary. But at a certain point, we stopped amending that land use plan, so we would have one document moving forward. So this includes 19 properties of various sizes and configurations of land use changes that occurred between February and today. So this is, I'm happy to go through each of them. They were in your packet as well as advertised, and you've seen them.
Is there, sure, if someone wants to speak on item 36, the future land use map amendment, you can press 3 if you, and immediately put you in the queue per the clerk's direction. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone lined up to speak here?
Not at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
That's second. Moved and seconded by Ms. Devine. Any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. And thank you for all you and staff, Krista, for all the work on this. All right. Next.
Number 37, regrettably, we're having to come to you to revise the effective date of the new Unified Development Ordinance. As you know, we were delayed somewhat in the mapping public meetings, which have occurred, and we are just about to bring you for public hearing the new zoning map. But as such, we need to move forward the date for the effective date to coincide with that map adoption. So we're bringing you a public hearing in January for the new zoning map. Your first reading will, I hope, be the first week of February. Then this would give us a couple of weeks to reconfigure all of our software, forms, and such to implement the new map and ordinance. So we request your approval on this.
Okay, super. Is there anyone in the queue, Madam Clerk, who has indicated they wanted to speak on this? If you are, please press number 3.
No, sir, not at this time.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Number 38 is a zoning text amendment to amend section 17253, which is the DD overlay, to delete the section of the design guidelines 3.5.4 site plan review, which gave that authority to the Design Development Review Commission in designated areas, and restore that to the Planning Commission.
In discussions with Mr. Rickman, we are going to conduct a public hearing today, and then we're going to defer action on this item until the next meeting. But we did want to make sure anyone who had some input on this item had an opportunity to express their concerns or ask any questions today. So if you are interested in speaking on this, I'd ask you to press number 3, and it'll immediately move you up in the queue, and the clerk will recognize you for input. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone?
Yes, sir. Mr. Wade Carlisle has raised his hand. I know he's interested in the next item. Be queue at the time.
Mr. Carlisle? Mr. Carlisle?
Hold one moment.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I sure can. We sure can.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm in line for the next item. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So is anyone else in line for this one, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. So we have no action, but can we move, have a motion to defer action this item to the next agenda, next meeting? Is there a motion?
I move we defer.
All right.
Second.
Move this,
It's
Mr. Rick.
December
Second.
5th, correct? Is that
That's
December 1st?
first, right? First?
Yes, sir.
All right. Motion made by Mr. Rickman, second by Mr. Duval. Move the previous question. Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
And that concludes
Thank
your
you.
zoning public hearing.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Krista, did you have any comments for the second reading of item 39?
Ms. Wilson, just for the record, because since we did already have the public hearing on this, and I don't know if this would be Ms. Hampton or Councilman Rickman, because I know he's been working with the parties involved. But I have gotten a call or two on this one today, and I know that we did first reading, we deferred it to work out the deed restrictions. I've seen some of Mr. Rickman's emails, but just for the public, can we talk about what's transpired and what actually is in place before we vote on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Under the requirement, we asked for several items, which was one was a recorded plat that split the lot into 2 lots. We actually requested that the applicant get a deed restriction naming the adjoining neighbor and the folks across the street. He actually did not only everyone surrounding the lots, but also the folks all across the street. So he actually went higher than what we had asked. He also has provided in that packet a layout that shows where the houses will sit on those 2 lots. The delay why it took 2 months, as y'all saw in that the email that we received today, is because the county recording. He would have had it to us earlier. I had been speaking to a neighbor who was helping disseminate things. I can't comment where it went, where it isn't, but he did fulfill all the requirements that we ask. I know there's several folks who still don't believe this is the right thing. It's a large lot. It nestles between, the majority of that neighborhood is RS2 anyway, so it nestles between the 2. It's a good point. He's done the restrictions that we asked, so I'm supportive of the second reading.
We do have a plat that divides a lot and reflects the setbacks and the like. We have that, Krista?
It's been recorded with the county. The city is not party to that restriction, but it has been recorded.
The deed restrictions are also in place. How do we make that readily available to all the residents? Is that something that we can procure, put in one document, and share broadly with some of the citizens who've been reaching out to us?
We certainly can share that. You know, zonings are not conditioned, so it's not necessarily part of this approval, but
Sure.
what I'll do is I'll share that document with all of you.
I've sent it to everybody. Everybody's got it in their email that was forwarded.
It's from you, Daniel?
Yeah, it may have come through the series of responding to Mr. Tommy, but it's in there. And I can
read that in there too, Daniel, because I haven't.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, I don't see it. Do you have it where you could just send it quickly?
I know Jonathan had approved the plat. Hold on, I got so many emails from.
I'm trying to type all y'all's names in there real quick.
Do you have it right at your fingertip?
Yeah. Right. I didn't put any headers in it, so forgive the shortness of it, but I just sent you.
That's fine. Krista, I'm sorry. You probably did the thing. Can you send it to my other email?
You bet.
Thank you.
All right. I know Mr. Carlisle is on the line, wanting to potentially speak. So you can put him in the queue, Erica, if that's necessary. I see the plat here. The Declaration of Covenants, Conditions and Restrictions. 16th, 2020. Notes and package recorded on October 27, 2020.
There's the plat.
Yeah, and the plat as well is on the last page here. So let's just share that broadly with all citizens who've been reaching out to us as well. But it seems like Mr. Carlisle has met the conditions that council requested of him. Have we had a motion on this one yet?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Carlisle, if you want to speak, it's obviously your prerogative, but I think we're fine. Moving forward.
I don't have anything to add, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, yes, sir. We'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Madam City Manager?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We do have one committee referral by the Honorable Will Brennan to refer a presentation of the Columbia Technology Plan to the Economic and Community Development Committee. And I'm not sure if you all have any other reports or referrals, Mayor Benjamin. I have one.
Yeah, motion by Mr. Brennan. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? We'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ma'am, do we have any citizens who signed up for public input?
I think Ms. Devine may have had another item.
Apologize, Ms. Devine.
No problem, Mr. Mayor. Just very quickly, and I sent you all an email, but just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that yesterday we started promoting the partnership with our local partners on the Color of Law conversation. And I'm really excited. Thank you guys for supporting this initiative. I've gotten really great response just in the last 24 hours that we've been promoting it. Our first session starts December 10th of 2020, which will be a conversation moderated by Warren Bolton. And we've got some community leaders who live through gentrified neighborhoods. They will be part of the discussion along with Rebecca Lipsum from the State Paper and Stuart Andrews, who is a well-respected attorney who has done a lot in housing. So I'm really super excited about this. We've got 3 other sessions after this starting in January. One we'll talk about redlining. The third one will actually have the author of The Color of Law present with us. And I'm real excited about that. And then our 4th session, we will finish with a conversation hosted by Mayor Benjamin with other mayors to discuss progressive ways that cities are addressing equality in their cities. So I just wanted to make sure that you all signed up, because if we max out and y'all haven't signed up, y'all will not be a part of it. So I want to make sure that y'all sign up to be a part and encourage your communities to be a part as well. I think this conversation will be amazing, but it certainly will not be as good as it can be if we don't have a diverse group of citizens participating. So I would just ask your assistance in making sure that we promote it in all 4 districts of the city. And Ms. Wilson, I just would like to definitely thank Ms. Utzi and her staff, who have done an amazing job to help us pull this together and coordinating with all our partners so that we're getting some really great media on this.
Well, Tamika, thank you so much for your leadership on this. It is downright exciting, and look forward to participating. And you can hold 5, 6 extra slots for your friends if you wanted to. I'm just saying. So, but this is going to be exciting. So thank you very much. All right, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone public input?
Nothing.
All right, Mr. Duval.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for receipt of legal advice related to matters covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to SC Code 30-4-70A2, COVID-19, Columbia water collections, consent decree, and zoning matters. Receipt of legal advice related to a pending, threatened, or potential claim pursuant to 30-4-70A, Godfrey versus Columbia, LJ Incorporated versus City of Columbia, Grant versus City of Columbia, and an additional one under 30-4-70A2, 5 points, and women of distinction.
City of Women.
City of Women.
And we had the zoning matter as well, right? The
Yes.
zoning matter.
Yeah, I
Okay.
added the zoning.
All right, super. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. As we got some important business done. I'm going to call this meeting adjourned and follow the executive session.